Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back to the booth. We are here with our Week 7 update. So I'm excited. I imagine my co-hosts are excited here. So let me check in with them. Valentine, how excited are you for the Week 7 update?
Very.
Very. Can you elaborate?
hmm I'm just very excited. I think it is a lot of fun when the league you plan is the most interesting and you get to talk about whatever you want.
That's fair. And I think that there are several challenges for the most interesting league this week. Vega, how excited are you?
I'm super excited. Always right before playoffs is like the most fun, like foldy sheet time of figuring out all the situations of like who gets
Mhm.
in, who doesn't get in. Does this team actually need to lose to improve their chances of getting in? All those fun things. So I'm really excited.
Yep, I had my own little fun with that this morning as I was putting together all the graphics for today and taking notes on my little legal pad here. So I'm excited to get into those. But Less Force, how excited are you?
Yeah, I mean, not to say the same thing over and over, but this is just the most exciting time of the regular season. Early on, it doesn't feel like even though every game does realistically, mean the same amount. Just at this point in the year, like you have to win if you want to get to playoffs. And we're at that spot where each group has a couple teams that are already locked in, but coming into like the last week and a half or so, teams are really kind of like up against the clock. Like they gotta win if they want to get to playoffs. So it like has that playoff aura, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there is no league with more than two players, like two teams locked for playoff spots. So there's at least two or three teams kind of like at risk, I guess we can say, of dropping below that playoff line, and a couple of teams below them who are hungry to punch up. So let's go ahead and get on into that, actually. So we're going to start with economy, like we always do, the best league in the LBLCS. So
hmm
here,
hmm
the big thing is that Naughty Sharks and Mighty Pandas are the two top teams, and I think each other's last match as well. So, gentlemen, place your bets. Who you got?
Naughty Sharks for me. I'm not jumping off the train now. I've been on it all year. We're not getting off now.
Yeah,
All
I'll be a
right.
contrarian, and for the same reason, I'll say SNC. I believe they were my number one pick coming into the season. A little bit of a different roster than I was predicting, but they've been really good. So for the same reasons as Vega, I'll ride with SNC.
All right, Valentine, be our tiebreaker.
It's Naughty Sharks. I've held the same position all season. I've been steadfast. Not for a second have I thought there was a better team. They're the reigning champs. They have the best player in economy. They have two, I'd argue, like top 5, 10 players in economy. It's so hard to argue against them, in my opinion. They're just really good. I think they're on the path to a repeat.
I think I'll also go with the Sharks. If you look down at my preseason rankings, I had them number one. Actually, my preseason rankings were fucking accurate. I have Sharks, SNC. I reversed Triferix,
Oh
now
shit, you're right.
Nefarious, and wow, I went crazy on that one,
Yeah,
didn't
you're
I?
spot on. Yeah, I can't
Yeah, it's
even.
actually crazy.
Yeah,
That's pretty impressive.
That
I'm
is
just the
pretty good.
smartest person on the planet. That's what's up. My
Whoa.
my econ knowledge will never go away.
hmm
But there's other things going on in this league. I think that there's a couple of teams kind of in that middle four there, so third through sixth places, who I think are all vying for those remaining two playoff spots below SNC and Naughty. So between the Nefarious Oathbreakers, Serenity Control Ult and Deleted, Kickin' Squids, and Sensei Randalls, I think all four of those have ability to kind of punch into the playoffs. So let's discuss. How do we think that
Do
that
they?
cookie's going to crumble?
Wait, I don't think can Sensei
Yeah,
Randall's
no, they've all played.
most of
I
them are
Sensei
at
Randall's
seven
and Kicking
games.
Squids are
Oh, wow. I'm
done.
doing
Yeah,
math
there's 7 games.
really
I think it's
poorly.
actually locked, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow, I'm doing math so
Yeah, that's
wrong. That's
locked.
crazy.
Yeah, it's actually locked. The top four is locked.
Yeah, all four. This is
I
insane,
spent
actually.
so
This is
long
impressive, though.
deliberating on like the commercial teams, which were like which is all 8 games. So I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
4
they
and
play
3,
all
they all
games,
have
yeah.
like the potential to do things. But
We
yeah,
didn't want to
you're
interrupt
right.
you. We wanted to let you make your point and then correct you.
Yeah,
Yep.
let me make an idiot of myself. So it looks like just Nefarious versus Jinyu Force is like the last game to be played, and it's not going to affect the same. Well, if Nefarious loses
Mhm.
0-2, know that they stay in their same place because they
Yeah.
have the same record
Yeah, I
as
know.
Serenity, but fewer losses.
The last game that had an impact was the Kicking Squids against the Naughty Sharks last night. The Squids did have an opportunity. They went to game 3 against the Sharks, but they did drop that series. And so with that, yeah, the
Mm.
seedings all locked. Nefarious and Serenity, they just played, got to cast them earlier this week, and that was a pretty good series. I think Nefarious is looking really good heading into playoffs. I think they just team fight really well. They're kind of like all on the same page. Talked a good bit with their captain. They seem pretty confident in their players pretty much across the board. I don't know if this is true or not, but their top laner's name is One Hand, and their captain said that they actually only have one hand. So I don't know how
Hmm.
that works. I'm a little interested to see how they were playing like Akali on one hand, but I think they're pretty good. I think they can definitely contest either of those top 2 teams.
Yeah, they've got the MVP who I never doubted. Ghost Border, who I never jumped off the train. 100% the whole season believed in.
Hmm.
Definitely didn't pick somebody else the last booth.
Always on border
Hmm.
with him.
On Ghost
Oh,
Border with him.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not.
I- Genuinely,
No,
I hope
no,
that he
no,
watched
no,
me
no,
get off
no.
the train and then was like, okay, now I need to play well. And then they have been playing well. I'm not taking credit, but all I'm saying is ever since I said that I wasn't believing in them anymore, they played better.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, some people just need a little bit of
Okay.
spite to get going. Valentine, your thoughts on the Economy League now that it's the dust has pretty much settled?
Well, I think there's such a clear and present team to beat, which I feel like always ends up happening in econ, whether there's one division or two division, right? The only super interesting thing to me is that with how it's set up, I think, and I could be wrong, that the Pandas could, if they win their last game and Sharks lose their last game, could take first seed. But I may also be a dummy dum dum and be wrong.
I'm trying to do the math in my head. I think it would end up that if Mighty Panda's 2-0 Naughty Sharks, then they're both going to have a 6-1 record, which makes them equal. And Mighty Pandas will have more wins. It'll be 13 wins, 4 losses, and Sharks will have 12 wins, 4 losses. So I think, yeah, the Mighty Pandas are coming first in that place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
So yeah, that will be very exciting, and I think I don't think we could have asked for, I think the most there are going to be very, very interesting round 1 matchups. I think Sharks Control Alt Deleted. We're gonna see one Spartan Left versus Vader Use Choke, who are both amazing econ mid laners. And I think across the map, Mighty Pandas and Nefarious Nothbreakers is going to be a really interesting one because I think they both have such strong players on chunks of the map that it's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yep, I'm pretty excited to see. Once playoff brackets get made, we'll all make sure to submit our predictions for all of those things and how we expect those to look. I don't know. Maybe we can think about some stakes to put on the predictions, but
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what those would be right now. I think the funniest stakes that I heard, and it was for a fantasy football league, was that the person who came in last place had to go take the SAT. Because you don't have to be like in high school to take the SAT, so you can just sign up for it. So they made the last place person go take the fucking T, which I
You go to,
think is
like, a high school?
hilarious. Huh?
That
No,
is
they're
fun.
like
you
they're
have to
like
go to
adults.
like a high school
Yeah,
and
they're adults.
yeah, but like you have to like physically go to a high school and like
Yep.
sit around with a bunch of that's
And like
embarrassing.
sit in and like you are evidently 10, 15
That
years
might
older
catch
than
you
everyone
guys,
else.
but I still look like a high schooler, so I can get away with that one. So I don't know.
I can't
I
go.
think I'll be fine.
I'll
Yeah.
try my hardest on these predictions.
Yeah, Jack could maybe pass.
I think I don't know. I'm not gonna continue talking about this, but I think that we should consider what. No, that doesn't make any sense. I don't. I think we should put some stakes on these predictions, but anyway, final resting thoughts on the Economy League with just 2 matches left to play.
I mean, I guess I'll just kind of note, and maybe this is more of like an LBLCS in general type thing, but like we've seen many times where there's a dominant team heading into the postseason and they immediately get upset. You know, like last season, think of like SKT against Reverie Spark and Commercial. You can think back to like season 9, I think it was Team Laser Moon were almost undefeated and they got upset in the first round by, I think it was Panther Corps, if my memory's serving correct. They lost to somebody in the first round. So it's definitely like not uncommon for like a team like the Sharks. They roll in the regular season, but then just whoever's catching fire, which I guess at this point would probably be it'd be Serenity that would have to play against them. I mean, I'm just even though they're looking really good right now, they gotta like not be complacent going into playoffs.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember I remember the stream for Rev versus SKT. It was insane. I mean, like every kill like on either side would just be like there'd be like 50 messages of like either like I think it was like hashtag rev up, and then I can't remember what the SKT one was, but it was crazy. That was really fun. So maybe we'll see some of that. Maybe Serenity will have their opportunity to kind of like get vengeance on a first seed team as like a last seed team. So we'll see. I'm excited. I'm hungrily awaiting that stream. And as we move on over to commercial, we'll start ABC because that's the order of the alphabet. I think the cool thing here is that Triferix Ecto, Team Volatility Chaos, and Homies United can all push for playoffs if Cuddly League Guys loses two series. And the 2 series that Cuddly League Guys has left to play are against Homies United and Triferix Ecto, which are the 2 teams that are looking to push up there. So those are going to be really exciting matches.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we did the booth, I came off as a bit of a CLG hater, saying that hey, they gotta like play the teams that are above, and like now they've played a couple, they dropped a couple series, and now they're kind of, I mean, they're still in a good spot for playoffs, but now it's not like they're locked as they were kind of looking earlier in the season. So I'm curious to see how they do against those teams that are like really hungry to make the playoffs. I think Triferix, they just took the Simeon Surfers to 3 games if I recall from last night, so they could be looking like a team that could pull off an upset. I mean, Homies United, obviously last time talked about their strong solo laners. They could put up a fight. Commercial's just always, to me, the most exciting, especially because they've got that wild card spot.
Yeah, the wild card spot is gonna be pretty interesting, and they did take Simeon Surfers to 3 games, but when I went and I checked the first game, which is the game that Simeon Surfers lost, I always check Simeon Surfers matches because I always think that like I always want to know like what they're up to because it's always so interesting, and I'm thankful that I don't have to play against it. But game 1 they had like AD Soraka jungle, and that didn't go well for them. And him, the guy is like, don't look at game 1. So sorry, I did, and I'm going to make sure that the 52 people who are listening to the booth right now, and then my 3 co-hosts, also go look at the game. And yes, you are more than welcome to provide context. But I think the other thing that's neat here is High Alert versus Team Backflip. They're battling for 2nd and 3rd seeds, and I think their match is scheduled on Wednesday. So who you guys got for that matchup?
That's
I know it's complicated, so I'm going to go ahead, Les Force.
Yeah, I was waiting to see if anybody else wanted. So High Alert, they made that swap in the bot lane. They added in, I believe his name's Nesnud. Not sure on the pronunciation. They've really kind of like stabled out since the last time we did the booth. I think they've won all their series since, so they're pretty hot. But I think Team Backflip, is really, really good. And every game I've watched, they've looked just pretty consistently good. Like they don't fall behind. So I think I'm gonna ride with the team backflip. I think Bear will probably be DMing me in about 15 seconds. Not too thrilled with that outcome, but it's just kind of like the more consistent team has been team backflip all season.
Yeah, I mean, if we keep predicting team backflip, I guess he'll just have to grin and bear it. But so I'm also going to vote for backflip here, and I think I just killed my co-hosts. But Vega, after you get your head out of your hands, because I only make bad puns, who do you have for this series between backflip and high alert?
I was one of the people that was most high on high alert early in the season, and I started to drift away from that towards like the midseason. But it's tough because I do think Team Backflick and Symbionts are like really good, but I do think high alert, kind of as Les4 said, made the right changes to their bot lane. They look a lot better. I'm going to go high alert here, just because I think they're kind of hitting their stride at the right time. And not to take away, because I think Backflip, I think this is like the top three in this group are a clear top three. And Simian Surfer's just kind of like the bar that, like, hey, if you can deal with the craziness that's Simian Surfers, you can break into the top three. But I'm riding with high alert this week, I believe.
Yeah, and speaking of the Simian Surfers, him provided context for the Soraka jungle pick, and they said that they told their second jungler that if they try hard at a series, they could pick anyone they wanted week 8, so they picked Soraka. So
I respect that.
I mean, I respect that. I guess they're like playoffs locked, I think.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
locked at this
yeah.
point with 5 wins. Yeah.
Yep.
Which, gosh, man, imagine being a team having to get them as your first round matchup, like trying to scout and prep for that team.
Yeah, I don't think there's any scouting.
Yeah, and it's gonna be really interesting because they're gonna have to play teams from other groups now, and the cycle will restart.
Mm-hmm.
Of seeing how well teams can withstand the wackiness. And I mean, they've got 8 weeks of data to go off of, so it shouldn't be that bad.
But as far as I can tell, there is no consistent pattern, because sometimes they just do double jungle and sometimes they just don't. So who knows what's going to happen. But Val, we didn't quite get to your predictions for this matchup between the team backflip and high alert. So who do you have?
I've spent a majority of the season rooting against high alert, and I think for me to turn heel now is too late. So I will be rooting for team backflip.
Did all 4 of us?
I just think.
Oh, never
Am I
mind.
the only high alerter here?
Yep.
Yeah, you are the high alerter
week.
here.
I'm used to this. You know what? I'm used to being the sole contrarian opinion here. Except for Naughty Sharks, which is less force.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, I like to see it. I like to see teams kind of just prove it, right? Even down to Sharks. Like, I have great faith in Sharks. Still want to see them do it, and I think the same goes for High Alert. I just didn't have faith in them to start, so now continue to prove. It's like a constant test of faith. So I'm interested to see how that'll go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have like a Zoom class on Wednesday night, so I probably won't be able to be watching. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I'll be watching. So, and if we don't get it on the streaming schedule, I am certain that somebody will have it up in the LBLCS Discord, which you can find the link to down below if you haven't yet gotten in there. And you can go ahead and watch that. I remember, I think it was last time at playoffs, we would often have because there'd be 4 matches on the same night, and we would have LBLCS Red Zone, where they're one person was streaming each match and just kind of put them all up at the same time so we could all watch them, which that was a ton of fun, and we'll see if we can get that going again.
Gotta.
I want to say I had another note on something, but I actually don't think that I did. So, folks, what other kind of thoughts do we have about Commercial Group A?
I think this is the best group in commercial. I
do
think
too.
the top 3 in it should be favorites in whatever their first round playoff matches probably are.
Bold.
Yeah, I agree. I think these 3 teams are really, really good. And the fact that one of them's a 3 seed kind of stinks for whoever they have to go against from groups B and C. Just kind of like Vegas said.
Wow, that's That is pretty bold because there's some pretty strong teams in the other groups. Val, it seemed like you were shared the opinion
Uh,
that Group A is the strongest.
no.
Good.
No.
Tell us about your disagreement.
It's that I think commercial A I think has a explosive factor that because I think each group I think A has teams that if they were to go deep I wouldn't be surprised, but come playoffs I really will have to see who they play before I kind of give an opinion on what I think their chances are because I think Group B just has I think across the board teams that are just so hungry and it's a I think all current five playoff teams in Group B have a argument to win the whole thing, and then I think the top of Group C is just I currently maybe not head and shoulders, but they can match I think the top of any other group. So I'm pretty Commercial A isn't my favorite, but I definitely think they are very very good.
Well, with all of this chitter chatter about the other leagues, let's go ahead and wiggle our little cute butts on over to commercial group B. That's an interesting segue. So this is the one we're talking about. This has got the match that was like literally just played. Every so often I'll like make the graphics and then all of a sudden a match gets reported and I have to go and I have to remake the graphics, which is not a lot of work, but it's enough work that I'm just kind of like, So Sector 7 and I can't remember which team they played.
Stop, drops, and
Roll.
roll.
Stop, drops, and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are on my shit list.
Mhm.
But I mean, there's more to commercial B than that, I think. So it's this kind of like wiggling around at the top with the SNC versus Serenity over there. I think they play the ninth, and their last matches are against the 9th place team and the 10th place team. So they're both favored to win, which would like assume that the standings don't change. But there's wiggle room there if I'm not saying the full name. If SNC loses. So what do you guys think? Do you think that it's going to stay the same, or do you think that SNC drops versus Silent Assassins? Vega, I'm coming to you first because I know that you have insider info on the Silent Assassins.
This is tough for me because let me put my analyst hat on and say I believe that SNC will probably close out the season pretty strong. And I just want to speak for Silent Assassins. If I have another 1-2, I'm going to lose my mind because we're 5 wins, 10 losses. We're literally 1-2 in almost every single game. But
Yeah,
That's like the unluckiest record.
oh my gosh, man. We're just really good on one side of the map and not on the other side. But yeah, I think realistically in this group, the top 3 are pretty locked for me as far as like how I think their relative level is. I do think that Serenity is the best team in this group. And I'm going to make a proclaimment here. I don't think it's close. I think that they've gotten so much better over the course of this season that like their recent games are way better than how they were at the beginning of the season.
So you think that even though SNC is at the top of the standings, Serenity is head and shoulders above them in terms of like ability?
Yeah, I'll make a proclaimment. I'll make a proclamation here. I think that, and I love doing this because I love just seeing everybody's reaction to me just making wild statements. So I'll probably be taking the SAT. I think Serenity's going to finals in commercial. Like, I think that team's good enough to like. I don't see teams in other group. Maybe not nice, but Group A maybe has a team that can play against them. But I don't think there's another team, at least that I've seen from like casting and like scrimming, that I thought was better than them.
Dr. Explosive is not happy with you jumping ship.
That's okay. I mean, like, look, it was gonna happen anyways. Look, we're wait till you see our picks this week. There's no coaching anymore around playoffs. No, I think Twimpus Flame is good, and I think that Necromancers and Twimpus Flame are on par with probably right around the Group A teams. Like, at least, like, it wouldn't surprise me if they took games. I just think that Serenity has just gotten so much better over the course of the season, whereas I think Twimpus Flame was already really good, and they've grown a little bit, but I think they just already were better. And Necromancers was kind of in a similar place, whereas Serenity was more of like a if they keep improving at the rate they've improved at, by the time playoffs rolls around, I think they'll be the best team.
Sammy Two Slap is throwing down the gauntlet against Serenity, saying, I think that's autocorrect, but like already beat them, we can beat them again kind of situation.
Yeah, but he's kind of proven my point. He beat them, and they've kept gotten better. So now I know that they won't win.
Wow. All right. Lust
Yeah.
Force and Valentine, what are your reactions to this bold proclamation?
I think it's pretty hot. Well, it depends because if the take is that if we're just saying Serenity's going to top this group, they play Flash for damage in the last week. Serenity, that is, and SNC play Silent Assassins, so that could go either way. As far as them going to finals, I think that there are some stronger teams on paper that I've seen. Granted, I haven't caught many of the recent games of Serenity. I haven't had a chance to spectate, but I think there's a lot of good teams that I would say would be my choices to head to finals. I think I do also. I don't know if we're jumping too far ahead, but I do want to say that Suboptimal did just 2-0 Nefarious last night, and they're looking really hot. To me, they're kind of shades of High Alert from last season, where it was like very 50-50 in the regular season, and then playoffs came and it just went scalding hot. That's kind of where Suboptimal is at this point. So they're a team that I think is, even though their record isn't as pretty as the top three, I think that they're very, very competitive. But I'd probably still stick with Serenity as the number one seed in this group.
Scrappy little team there. That's Suboptimal Gaming. Valentine, coming over to you for your thoughts.
I mean, is Serenity the best team in the group? Um, they beat SNC Tempest fine. They're both at the top. I'll give it to them. Are they bound for finals? Hmm, no.
Do we think there's
I don't
any
think
team in
so.
commercial bound for finals? Like, is there any like super clear favorite besides Vega's hot takes?
Maybe in a few minutes.
Depends on the bracket. Depends on the bracket. You got to see the bracket first.
All right. All right.
I think barring seeing like I do believe, and I guess I'll wait a little bit for my bold prediction of my own, but I will say I think there are a few teams I'd pick over Serenity um to make the top four. Um, they went to game three with um Twimpus Flame and lost in 3 games to Necromancers, who I think is a team that is, I think, because the other two are 6-1, people aren't going to recognize that they are just as dangerous and scary as a team. And I think they're a clear dark horse for me. But I do think Serenity will probably end up topping the group, most likely. Maybe not, though. Who knows?
All right. And, you know, there were a couple of shout outs for TV Arcana from Group C. One shout out from SNC in Group B, and one shout out from Simian Surfers in Group A. So the other two commercial groups both having a representative saying like TVA is really good, and kind of like pushing them towards there. I don't want to jump ahead to Group C. So before we go ahead and discuss Arcana versus Panther Court versus all of those other teams over there, what else are we thinking about here? I think Sector 7 and Suboptimal are kind of defending some spots. I think Sector 7 with their win today really kind of helped solidify that lead a lot more, but I'm pretty sure that there are still some scenarios where either one or both of those teams falls below the playoff guideline.
Yeah, it largely depends on how Goons do to end the season. They do play Silent Assassins and Suboptimal. So, I mean, potentially if Goons beats the Assassins, that could be a massive Week 8 playoff match. I do think Sector 7 is pretty safe in the playoffs. They might kind of be gridlocked into the 5th slot, but they've looked pretty solid as of late. They did take a game off of Twimpus Flame, I believe it was last week. So they're looking pretty solid. Then yeah, it'll just come down to like I think Goons is that other team that's kind of like in the running at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Goons and Misfits are both still contending for playoff spots. I think, and when I wrote down all my notes, SDR and Sector 7 hadn't played yet, so Stop Drox and Roll was kind of in the contention, but I believe is no longer after losing to Sector
Mhm.
7. So that was so I think they're out, and
They
now
could.
Goons and Misfits can punch up if they really start performing.
I think they could rob the wild card spot. Maybe insane though.
Yeah.
The 16th seed maybe in contention for them, which is like I think it's a reason for every. It's interesting because it gives every commercial team something to fight for. That 16th seed, if you play well enough, if your record is good enough, if you're close enough, you can still get rewarded with that. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how that turns out. But there are some very good contenders for that spot at the moment.
And Suboptimal play Goons. I think that's
That's going to
I
be
think that's
important.
Suboptimal's last
Super
match,
important.
and it's like I think if they win it, they're locked. I'm pretty sure if they
Yeah.
win it, they're locked. But if they lose
Five wins is a
they're
safe
vulnerable.
Yeah.
space. Yeah.
5 wins a lock in this group.
So if they lose it, they're vulnerable. Because I think because if they lose it, then Goons can move up, and then both Sector 7 and Goons can start taking the 4th and 5th place spots. So really exciting. I love it. We're like coming down to the wire. There's very few matches left to be played that don't mean anything. I think there was one in economy, and there might be a couple of others around here, but I'm pretty sure that like 80-90% of the matches that have yet to be played matter quite a bit for playoff standings. All right. That seems to be commercial group B. So let's go ahead and move on. We had some shout outs for TV Arcana here. And they are undefeated in terms of series. They've dropped a couple games. So are they also head and shoulders above the competition here, or are teams like Panther Corps and Dreaded Dawn and maybe some of the other teams in this group able to start kind of punching and making them bleed?
I
I think
don't think there's a Group C team that could be better than them at the moment from what we've seen, right? They've played PZ Sentinels, and I think that's really the only team I believe had a chance at really catching them. And I'd argue that among the rest of the commercial teams, their minimum top four, they, I think, just all across the map have what I think LBLCS would quantify as stars. It's so um I think it's so clear that like even comparatively to their contemporaries, even most teams, I think the only team that could be compared in just a sense of having not been quite challenged yet is Homo Sapiens. And even then, right, there are more losses. Homo Sapiens have had more game threes than TV Arcana. TV Arcana are kind of cakewalking it. So I think it'll be interesting to see their first series of playoffs because there's I'd say a non-zero chance that series will be against a wild card team and see how that goes. Because the last time a dominant seed one played a wild card team, something really cool happened.
Something
Um,
got revved up.
something rev up. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I think aside from that, Group C is awesome, and all the teams are really competitive. And I think we're probably going to get a wild card from this group with how much of a fight there is around that fifth spot.
Yeah, I think something that's interesting to talk about is when there's multiple groups in the same league, talking about like relative strengths in terms of like A versus B versus C. When it comes to commercial, we've got these three groups. And do we feel like there's any one group that comes out on top in terms of like super strong? I think we had some chitter chatter about Group A being particularly powerful, but I wanna now that we've kind of gone through all of them, I wanna chat about like is there any team where it's gonna be like Group C versus Group C finals? Like I think it was maybe last season or the season before.
I think Group A has the most potential to have matchups later in the tournament. But I will say this, it's really hard to evaluate Group C because TVA has been so good and so dominant that it's hard to say, like, is that them being so good or is their competition like not rising to, which I think happens. It's always kind of like hyperbolic conversation to just like, you don't know. There's no real way until playoffs when we see these match up against other groups that we know relative strength. But I will say I agree with Val about TVA of all the teams in commercial probably shows the least weakness. Like they're the most like complete team when you watch them play. But what does that mean for their group? Does that mean that their group is not strong enough, or are the other groups weaker and they're more scrappy with each other because there's not a clear favorite? But I mean, if the second best team is Panther Corps, I just feel like how can Group C? I'm sorry.
Wow.
Uh,
Ice cold.
I'm kidding. It's tough to between B and C for me. It's tough to decide who I think the better one is. I think Panther Corps and Arcana are really good, and then I think Group B has like the kind of top three that's really good. But what really matters is how's the competition from then down with each group. So I think each group has a couple of teams that are probably could go to finals or deep in playoffs. But it's the people they're playing against weekly down in the league that matters more. And I think Group A has more quality teams down the list.
So here's an interesting note from a camped who's on TVA, if I remember correctly, and saying that Avalanche is the only team that has threatened us and made it feel like we could drop the series. And we haven't even talked about Avalanche yet. I will say that there's a cool little note, which is that unless I did my math wrong, which that never happens. There's a potential for a three-way tie between Avalanche, Detroit versus everybody, and Barbecue Boys at 4-4 series and 10-10 wins losses, which would be pretty cool. But anyway, so Avalanche. Let's talk about Avalanche real quick because I think SNC hasn't locked playoffs, but it's almost certain. But Avalanche and Detroit versus everybody are, I think, both vulnerable to not making playoffs here. So let's talk about these two teams, and will they be able to defend their playoff spots, or do we think there's going to be a little shuffle?
So I did rankings recently for Group C, and in my professional opinion, I think Avalanche is the second best team in the group. I think in the games that I've watched, I think that they're very cohesive. Again, they were the team that took TVA 2-3 games, and even in the one of the games that TVA won, it was close with Avalanche contesting. I think Kreese is really good in the jungle. I think Full Metal plays a very stable, because they don't play through mid a ton, but Full Metal's good about like picking like Ziggs and Zerath and things that can kind of just do what they got to do to get to the late game. And I think that their bot lane just has like the crazy. They're so coin flippy, which I mean in like a positive way, I guess. But like they'll pull out like Samira Pike and they'll look to just bash your face in over and over. And maybe the ADC will end up with like 8 deaths, but he'll have like 19 kills. And so I think from the games that I've watched, I've been most impressed with Avalanche outside of TVA. I think they beat SNC 2-0. I think they got 2-1 by Detroit versus everybody, and they got 2-1 by Barbecue Boys. Hopefully my memory is serving correct. But I really like Avalanche.
Yeah,
They're
they play
playing
Sentinels week 8
yes.
as
Yeah,
well.
they play Sentinels. Yeah, that's gonna be good.
Yep. So Sentinels plays
I think that'll decide
SNC
too.
and Avalanche. Those are the two remaining matches for Sentinels. So that's pretty interesting because they're playing the teams directly below them. I think they can clinch it, and then I think TVA just loses a bunch, and then PC comes in first seed. So I think that's
Finally an
That's up.
unbiased opinion.
finally
Finally.
there's no bias in that opinion. It's just that Panther Corps is the best. So
I'm sure.
it feels like there's been at least one like pretty interesting threat from each group. So we talked about kind of our like TVA and Avalanche from Commercial C as being like these teams, TVA being like the clear kind of favorite, but Avalanche being like this dark horse that could just start like eliminating top seeds from contention. And we talked about like Commercial A and B having like some top tier teams that are going to, give the rest of the league a hard time. So I think Commercial playoffs will probably be the most entertaining this season.
Hard to top it usually, I think.
Hmm.
It helps when there's 16
When
teams
you
as opposed to the 8 from the others,
Yeah,
Yeah,
or
that
yeah,
8
also
or,
makes
or
sense.
8.
Yeah, exactly. More teams to be excited about.
yeah.
True, true. So, speaking of playoffs with 8 teams, we can go ahead and move on over to Financial Group A. This is the best group in the entire LBLCS because it's got the coolest teams. So,
Mhm.
first of all, Howdy Chef, good lord. Scary team dropping a singular game. And I think the neat thing is that their last series is against TVBYOB. So, Lest Force, any insider info on this showdown of the Giants?
I mean, insider info is it's a tough term. I think me and Zodiac sat and watched all of their series against you guys, the Howdy Chefers Panther Corps. I'm very familiar with a lot of these players. I've played against Gran Torino. I've played against Arcadius many times, Wokababu many times. Even though he was in the mid lane now in the support, I think we have a good idea of what they want to do, and it's just a matter of like us not falling into the trap that they want to play. I mean, I'm not gonna. I know I saw Gran Torino in the chat earlier, so I can't reveal too much. But I think on paper it should be a really good series. I don't think it's a 2-0 either way, but I do think that we are certainly good enough to beat Howdy Shot. I know that all season they've been ahead in the standings just because their name starts with H instead of T. I'm pretty sure it's by alphabetical, but these have been the top two teams all season, and I think it's going to be a really awesome series tonight.
Well, they also have a 12. They also have a 92% win rate, and you guys only have a 91% win rate. So like the gap is
They're
just
just
like
better.
enormous. It's a chasm. It's like the Grand Canyon.
Speaking
Valentine
of Grand
and
Canyon,
speaking of,
I was going to talk about Panther Corps.
go ahead.
No, I'm just kidding.
You
No, I think
motherfucker.
like tonight, I think is pretty like I don't want to say anything about either of these two. They're both the two most dominant teams in this group. I think they're far ahead of competition, and I don't think until we see them play each other, we're gonna have any good. It's like trying to pick the Super Bowl or something. Like you don't know until they play each other. I think both teams are really good teams, top to bottom, and play the map very well.
Yeah, and the really fun thing is that Panther Corps, so my team, defending our playoff spot is defending it against Diamond Hearts Club and then and then we have to play TVBYOB, right? So like we have matchups, capital M, coming up, and I'm pretty excited for it. And there's going to be one tonight.
Against two members of the booth, no less.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
that's what makes it great.
It's the
That's
best
what
part.
makes it.
It's like
I love this.
the
I just get to
last
watch.
week, like we're all like kind of like versing each other. It's so much fun. So
Hmm.
speaking of kind of defending the playoff spots, I'm pretty sure that only Volatility and Howdy Chef are locked, and that the middle four teams, maybe it's just third through fifth, are all competing for the remaining two spots. I'm trying to do
I
some
think so,
eye
yeah.
math really quickly, but
I think so.
because both Clown and NLR only have 5 matches played, so they both have 2 matches that they can play. So both of them can eke up to 4 wins, and if they do that, then PC loses both series, then then we're out, and we just get to kind of kick our feet up. Feet is already plural.
Watch from
Yeah,
home.
I was like, eh.
Yeah. Valentine, any insider info on the DHC PCH matchup coming on later tonight?
We have role swapped everywhere, except for our support. Our support's still in the same position, but I have been freed from the top lane. I no longer have to sit around and do nothing for 25 minutes. We've sent our ADC up there instead. Um, our jungler has entered the mid lane, and we've sent our mid laner to ADC.
So how is the team feeling after all the role swapping?
Pretty good. Morale's high because our ADC is a top laner. Um, and I hate top lane.
Yeah, that would
And our
bring
mid
morale
laner
up.
hates jungle. It helps that like we're not playing roles we hate anymore. I think that's a key factor. And our mid laners also like if all of DCH or DHC is like little brothers, our mid are now ADC, is like the big brother who isn't so much like a good big brother, but he just kind of tolerates us the whole time. So it helps now that he's in the ADC position where he can kind of just like watch us from a distance and do his thing. It's very important that way.
Yeah, I think Gatatsu is saying that there's like 7 games tonight or something ridiculous. I actually didn't check like the streaming schedule, but like yeah. So after tonight, we're gonna have a lot more info on like how playoffs look for a lot of folks. So I'm excited for all of that. Vega, I want to give you a chance to kind of jump in with some of your hot takes here for Financial Group A.
This is probably the least hot take group I have. I'm pretty confident in the top 3 will make playoffs. Of course, I'm rooting for Diamond Hearts Club to get in there, be that 4th seed. Sorry, Marco, my friend on Needlessly Large Rods. I think you guys are fakes. I don't know how you won this many games. I'm kidding, obviously. But no, I think that, yeah. I think that, honestly, like, Howdy Chef, Volatility are clear top 2 in this group. And even though it looks interesting in the bottom, I do think Panther Gore, they probably won't beat Volatility. No offense, Val. I think they probably pick up the winningest Diamond Hearts Club, and that should put them in a pretty good spot to ride out the season and make it into playoffs. It would need some like real shenanigans around. But yeah, actually, I think this group's really boring.
PC40.
Probably not.
Hey, I hope so. That'd be great. That's great for ratings.
Well, actually, luckily for you, if depending on how the series, I guess the series is tonight go, we may be locked into our seed no matter what, and there is talks of maybe, kind of like how in like the NFL, if it's like week 17 and they're locked into the top spot, it's like you rest your starters, give them a break. We're talking about maybe like letting a couple subs get some action.
Well, you may still get a win though.
Trad.
It's Panther Core.
Wow.
I think
I don't know what I did to you, Vega.
Like,
It's almost like your reaction just begets more me doing it because it's like he reacts so violently to it that I'm like, oh, well, now I want to do it again because it's
What
funny.
have I done to you, man? Like it's like invite you to the booth. You just come
Look,
in.
you're going to playoffs. What do you want?
I-
Probably. I picked you. I said you'll probably go to playoffs. I think
You
you'll
said
go to
we'll
playoffs.
probably all right. We're gonna
Probably.
4-0 out of spite now. And so the teams Howdy Chef and TV BYOB being incredibly scary means that for Financial B, nice segue, Jack. Those remaining playoff spots are pretty spicy because those 3rd and 4th seeds, I believe, will have to go against the 1st and 2nd seeds from Group A, unless I think that's how the bracket's going to work. But honestly,
That is how it works. Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
it. People don't tell me things, so I just have to kind of like deduce it.
little
TFC,
bit of,
this group definitely feels there was a meme somewhere that I might just go try to find and put on the screen.
I
but,
replied to it in the group chat.
Oh, yes, okay.
Find it immediately. I'm
that
a
it's
big fan
basically
of it.
just Team Fried Chicken, like watching everybody. So I'm gonna go like try to find that while I pass it over to Valentine to discuss Group B.
All right. Here's what we know. Serenity Imperial, while in a good spot, due to their early losses against good teams, could get really like when I say fucked over, I mean fucked over. Like it could be bad. They could end 4-3, which is supposed to be like that's the safe zone for basically most, if not every team. But a 4-3 finish from them could see them finish 5th if Ronin is to win their last game against Tree Gang. As for Dirty Rats Xfinity and Tip Top Gaming, Tip Top Gaming is weird because they came into the season, right? I think we can all agree they came into the season pretty hot. Won some pretty impressive series. And I think stunned 2 of our hosts because they just did not expect the strength coming out from that side, but they had a great start. And DRX has had a huge surge, kind of coming into mid to late season, beat TFC, beat PCR, and I think they're going to close out the season playing against Tip Top Gaming. No, I'm wrong. I am wrong. They finished out the season playing. Whoa, hold on. They finished out the season playing Tree Gang as well as someone else that I can't
DRX.
see.
They
So-
play Tree Gang and Squirtle Squad.
Squirtle Squad. Wow.
Yep.
So they could end with a really good record, if the standings, if the way these teams play holds pat. Um, so yeah, we could see. Unfortunately, TFC's probably not going anywhere. They finished 6-2. They cannot be caught. They've locked first seed. But DRX could, after I think what many would say they kind of reached the kind of Icarus themselves, got very close to the sun last season, but didn't quite make it. This season, second seed, facing off potentially against a Highlanders, or maybe if things go sideways, a BYOB as the second seed, or
I
maybe
love
they
that
might get
take.
third seed and face BYOB anyways. Um, it could be very interesting what goes on.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up a really good, and so the image on screen is all five KFC members cheering on the like remaining teams here, top tier, tip top. I keep saying top tier, but it's tip top gaming versus PCR and the other two teams because I can't read now because I covered up the names. So that's what we're referencing there. So as we move on back to the standings here, the thing to note is that whoever gets fourth seed in Group A plays KFC, which is like a terrifying team to play. So that's going to be Panther Corps. We're going to love to try to keep that third seed spot, so that we can avoid that as long as is possible, and then make it to finals where we're sufficiently warmed up and we can just beat them. So Vega, I want to come to you for your thoughts on Financial Group B.
I think that if you're in Group A, which speaks to pretty much everybody in this call except for me, I definitely think you're watching what happens with DRX because I think that's a team that recently has gotten very hot. They just beat KFC. And it was a 2-1 series, but I'll be honest, I thought that DRX looked like the better team throughout the games, and that could just be a hot night, and maybe KFC was on an off night, but I think that right now, Group B has some very dangerous teams that are low seeds that, for less than some other teams probably don't want to meet. I do still think that KFC is like the best team in the group. I think that even in spite of a loss, I didn't think they looked great there, but they've looked good in their other matches, so I'd have to see them kind of like stumble a little bit more before I was off the train. And yeah, Tip Top was a team that I didn't believe in, and I want to say that I was right, that I wasn't buying into the hype, and now they're in 4th seed and they might not make playoffs. But I hope for those guys that they can, that they could just keep Panther Core where they are and do the right thing and not let them in the playoffs.
This is ridiculous.
No, really, actually, my dream.
Oh yeah,
is
tell me about
my
your dream.
is the Panther Corps makes it into somehow fights their way up to be like a 2nd seed, and then somehow I can get a Panther Corps eliminated by another Panther Corps team.
Oh
Then
right.
you win no matter what.
Yeah, that could.
Yeah, then it's a win-win for me. Yeah, because then Jack can be like, I won, and I can be like, me too. We both win.
Oh, I like it. I like the way that we both win. Yeah, we'll just throw Ronan under the bus.
Me and Jack can just duo cast it, and I'll just be negative on both teams. Like, why is this team doing this? And also, why is this team doing this wrong?
Yep, makes total sense to me. Less force. I want to kind of transition over to your thoughts for this group, knowing that you're kind of looking at the scramble here between what teams you may very well be facing as second, but probably third seed for Financial Group A.
Well, like, is there any way that you guys get to the 2nd seed? I'm pretty.
Actually, I don't think so.
I'm pretty unless you 2-0 both games. You'd have to 4-0.
I think we have to 4-0 and you have to 0-2.
Wait, yeah, because you'd have to get 11 wins. So if TV wins one game, we're locked the 2 seed. Anyway, so like we're just gonna put that under the bus. I am looking very closely because obviously these are the teams. We're not going to have to face KFC in the first round no matter what. So it's these bottom 3 to 4 teams that are the ones that I'm paying attention to. I'm most scared of DRX for sure. I think that they are, and I don't even think this is like an overreaction based on the stream from this week, but I think DRX is
Mhm.
the team to beat in this group. I think last season they took KFC to 3 games. I think this season they started out a little slow, but have really come on hot, and I think they're gonna end at 5-2 in terms of series. I think
Mhm.
Kigaris, foreign guy, really good carry players. I think that Slampus is like the most Chad player I've ever seen. Like he does not care if he goes down. And he came on the stream after the fact and was like, "Yeah, like I don't care if I go down 70 CS. Like I'm gonna hit my Sionar or I'm gonna pop the Ornar and I'm gonna set the team up." And like having someone who's so humble and just like accepts their role, like I think that's massive. So
Mhm.
I'm really scared of DRX. I hope that we don't face them. The other two teams, like Tip Top, I had a lot of experience scrimming against prior to the season, and Serenity, I know that team pretty well. Taco Pickle Hater a lot. I know they scrimmed Arcana earlier this year. So like, I feel like both those teams are good, but those are my preference is to face one of those two teams for sure. Of those like the three teams that are like vying for seeding.
So your dream is
Mhm.
that DRX takes second seed, so that you're going against either Serenity Imperial or Tip Top Gaming.
Yes.
You guys want to know something cool? Is that Naughty Raccoons can 6-0 and be in playoffs.
W.
W.
That's
So,
that's dope.
well, I
W.
mean, I don't think I'm gonna put Schmeckles on it, but it's a possibility. It could happen
It's not the hardest
because
road.
because they play Squirtle
Mhm.
Squad, which is below them, but then they play Serenity Imperial and Tip Top Gaming, which are both, if they can hand those teams a
Mhm.
couple of losses and a series loss, then they are pushing in with a 4-3 record
Um,
and a 10-6 game record, and I think that locks them playoffs. Kind of cool.
Here is a interesting one, interesting tidbit. If Naughty Raccoons were to make playoffs, I think their starting support, formerly Y2 Jericho, would be one of I think, a small group of players to have made playoffs in 3 different leagues.
Hmm.
Um,
It's pretty
yeah,
awesome stat.
I think that yeah, that group includes one of our booth members.
That's me, baby.
Fun fact, it's Jack.
Nah, that's me. Econ
Impressively so.
Econ finals, executive finals, and where we lost to KFC. I think I'm 99% sure we lost to KFC in exec finals.
Yes, you lost to KFC. You also lost to I think Brad's Chads at the
Yes,
time. I
Brad's
don't remember if
Chads.
it was
Then we
Brad
lost to
or anyone
Brad's Chads
else.
the next season or something like that. But
Yeah,
and then yeah, financial. So kind of cool.
you lost more finals in executive than econ. That's kind of impressive if you think about it.
Yeah.
So everyone just bullies me. So we're moving on from
That's not
finance.
bullying.
We're
I
moving
got the
on.
You
bully.
made
This
That's
is
like
crazy.
twice.
making finals twice at executive is pretty impressive.
It's like, haha, you lose.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you made it. I mean,
I-
you know,
I
finals
actually-
would've made it.
twice.
I think I might be cursed because I have been to final.
What?
I can't remember. I think Val, you and I did like some like historian work, but I think I might be the player with like the most finals appearances and have never won them.
Yeah,
because I think
yeah,
it's either like
for
3
sure.
or 4 finals appearances and just damn, that sucks.
Yeah, you have 3, I think, and I don't think it's close, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
well,
anyways, not
hold
looking
on.
to make it 4 appearances with the losses, but hey, I can get my finals win. I believe.
I believe in you.
Any final thoughts on financial group B or the financial league as a whole? I think this is also going to be pretty interesting along with commercial.
I think maybe just the one thing we didn't talk about in Group A was the insertion of a new team. Had to come in off the wait list pretty late in the spot, and they are technically still playoff eligible. I believe it's Clown Gaming and Sadness that they both play. So it's another one of those like, in order to make playoffs, things like A, B, C, and D all have to happen. But that would be pretty cool.
Mhm.
Come off the wait list late in the season, dealt a rough, hand, but then you're able to like kind of rattle off a 4-0 because these teams don't have any, like, there's no data to go off of, like way to like prep and, rattle off 4 wins, sneak into playoffs. That could be an interesting narrative. I don't know if it's going to happen. They would have to Like I said, they'd have to win out, and then I think a couple of things would have to go in their favor. But at least as far as I was told when they joined, they're mathematically eligible.
Yeah, so I think so they
Mhm.
4-0. Their record is going to be they're going to have a 3-4 series record with a 7-8 games record. And I think that there will be a couple of other teams with a 3-4 record that will have worse games records on that one. So I think you're right. I think they are still playoff eligible, which is pretty cool. So still a couple of teams, the 6th seed in both leagues, having the ability to punch up on in there. So let's move up on over to executive. I see my co-host giggling about something. I don't know what that is. But anyway, so I think the big news out of executive, the big news out of executive is that Past Prime drops a series.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are they past their prime?
Probably not, but
Nah,
God,
I don't think so.
but man, that's so fire.
Pretty sure they played Bar Top in
Um,
one of those games.
Yeah. So I think they lost their series against Naughty Boys, who are defending their playoff spot versus Coffee House soon. That's the next match they got to play, I think.
mhm.
Yeah, I think that series means a lot more to Naughty Boys than it will for Past Prime. But I think it speaks a lot to if playoffs play out the way the seedings are now. That would be Naughty Boys against Past Prime in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. Which does leave a little bit of, sometimes all teams need just a little bit of that confidence, right? Of just like, hey, even if the series was kind of wonky, Past Prime maybe wasn't going crazy in it. Like getting the confidence of beating them is what Naughty Boys needs to like close out the season, make playoffs, and look dangerous like going into there. Now they've put a game between them and Coffee House, which is really important. You know, now they have a little bit of a buffer for the teams below them, and some teams like Rift Royals now who have played 7 games that are now out. They don't have to worry about. Really, they're just looking at Coffee House and what Coffee House does.
Yeah, so the 2 matches left to be played are Gritty for God versus Mac and Cheese. So we shall see what ends up happening there. Gritty for God, I think, is expected to 2-0 there and keep their 3rd place spot. But honestly, I could use some carbohydrates, so I believe in Mac and Cheese Club to go ahead and do something about that. But then Naughty Boys and Coffee House are directly competing against each other for that last playoff spot. Because I'm pretty sure that if Coffee House 2-0s, they get it. But they have to 2-0. They can't drop a game.
They can't drop a game,
If they
yeah.
2-1, then they have more losses than Naughty Boys. So, pretty crazy. Also an exciting thing.
I think it would be so perfect, and it would just really kind of like fit the whole season for the Mac and Cheese Club. You know, they've acquired a lot of fans this season. You know, they kind of recognize that like they're the underdogs, and like they go into every series hoping for the best, and then it doesn't really go their way. But it would be so like poetically chaotic perfect if Mac and Cheese Club 2-0 against Gritty for God, and if Coffee House were to win their series. I guess it would depend on there's a scenario where Gritty for God get eliminated by Mac and Cheese Club, the Naughty Boys and Coffee House both get in. I think that would be actually insane. And
Wait,
I
is
think
there?
Is it by
'Cause
win rate or number of games won? Because if it's by number
if
of
it's
games
win
won,
rate, because it would be so if they 2-1, it would be Gritty for God would be 9-8. Coffee House, I think Coffee House and Naughty Boys would both have to 2-1 because then it would be
Well,
they'd both be
Oh, they play
can't
each
do
other.
that
They
because they
can't.
play each other.
Yeah, they can't.
or not. Wait,
So if
so
if
Coffee House would need a 2-1.
Okay.
Coffee House would need a 2-1. They would be 8-7. Naughty Boys
They'd be 8-8.
would be 8, or they'd be what 9-7, and then Gritty for God would be 9-9. So unless I'm mixed up here, I think
Coffee House
I'm
would be.
I think
If
Coffee
they took
House
a
would be
loss, they'd be 8-8.
Yep. So then
If Coffee House wins
Wait.
2-1, they'd be 8-8.
maybe
I don't
you're
think Coffee
right.
House can take Gritty for God out of playoffs.
No, you're right.
I
Disregard.
think at the
I
worst
put a
they're
little bit of
4th
Jackie
seed,
Boy
yeah.
math.
It's okay.
Like-
But I'm pretty sure me and LaChance jumped on the Mac and Cheese Club game for Monday because we were like, absolutely bias cast.
hold on.
We're gonna.
If
Mhm.
Gritty for God loses 0-2,
Yeah.
They finished 4-2, 9-9.
Yeah.
If
4-2,
Coffee
9-9.
House 2-0,
2 O's.
then they
They'd
finish the
be
season
4-3.
4-3, 8-7, which is a winning record, and the win rate puts them above. And Coffee House being 4-3 would be 8-7 as well, which
Wait.
also gives them a winning
Then they
record.
both be positive win rate.
And so they would be 3rd and 4th, and Greedy for God would be 5th.
Let me consult the rule book real quick.
Is it win rate or is it games won?
All right,
If it's games
tiebreakers.
won,
Alright,
then
this
Greedy
is
for God
over.
is safe. If it's win rate, they're not.
In the case of a tie between teams at the conclusion of the regular season, the first tiebreaker is winning percentage of games.
Oh, so they can.
Oh,
They
so
can
they
be
can
Oh
be
eliminated.
my
eliminated.
god.
But if they win a single game against Mac and Cheese
They're
Club,
safe.
they're huh?
Yeah.
What's 10
That's
and 9's
fun.
percentage
That's
versus 8 and
fun.
7's percentage?
8-7 is going
That's
to be a
fine.
higher win percent than 10-9 because it's
They have to
it's
win
proportionally
2-0 then
more.
to be safe. Because if they go 2-1, no, they'd be 11 and 9. They'd be
Yep.
11. They'd be yeah, never mind.
Yep.
Oh no, if they go 1 and 2.
I love the math that we're doing here, guys.
No, if they go 1 and 2, they'd be 10 and 9. Like if they lose to Mac and Cheese Club 1-2, they'd be 10 and 9, which would be a lower percentage than 8 and 7.
Ooh.
So they need to win. They just need to win.
They do need to win.
To guarantee, they just need to win.
They do need to win. So we shall see what happens with the with Team Carbohydrate. I am rooting for them. It seemed like Vega was also rooting for them. I think the rest of my co-hosts are probably also rooting for them. We love an underdog here at the LBLCS. That's why people root for Team Volatility. So that's a good. We have a good LBLCS season ahead of us. We've got apparently I think 5 games tonight, 3 from commercial and 2 from financial. So those playoff spots are going to get significantly more solidified after tonight. So I'm excited. Hopefully there'll be some like LBLCS red zone going on for all you folks to go ahead and tune on in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all that I had on my little legal pad of booth notes. Folks, do we have anything else that we would like to discuss, either from any league or just, why not? Whatever. We already did a lot of math together, and that was very tiring.
Yeah.
It's a bonding.
Yeah.
And
I think I gotta
Come on.
go rattle off like 10 solo queue games before my series against Howdy Chef. Gotta be in form.
yeah, I think I gotta go do a little bit of the same for Diamond Hearts Club. So we're gonna have to go ahead and do that. Vega, what about you? Any rattling off of
I
solo
don't-
queue games?
Nope, I don't have to do anything. But if you are in the New York area in the next week and a half, we are trying to put together a Golden Guardians versus BDS watch party at a local bar, something like that. So reach out to me. I'll update you guys as I get details. If you want to come, feel free to come. I'm also talking to Golden Guardians about maybe having some free merch and stuff to give away. So just reach out to me. Let me know.
America. I'm rooting for Golden Guardians. Who
America.
is my
I mean,
LCS player like idol. So that's which probably
Yeah.
which explains a lot about me. But hey, that's neither here nor there.
I
Well,
hate
no,
to
who
admit
he's
it to
won a
all of
final.
you, but I feel like I hate to admit this to all of you at the current moment, but I have been an EU fan since like 2015, so I will be rooting for BDS come this game.
You guys can
Just say you hate
apologize
America.
deeply.
Just say you.
so in a couple weeks you can go ahead and join us on the booth. It'll just be 3 of us. No European
come on
sympathizers
now.
allowed.
I'm surprised you're going with kicking Val off. Vega with that comment I thought had
Yeah, but at least he's about the America. So like,
Yeah,
it's
I mean-
thin ice. All of a sudden, it'll just be me alone at the Denny's Corner booth, just talking about amateur competitive League of Legends.
I'll
Sounds
be
like
replaced
real
with
life.
Panther Core Vega.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I guess. PC Vega, I'm down.
PC
Vega.
Vega,
Let's get it.
come on by, man. I mean, well, enemies to lovers. I love it. I'm okay with that. That's everybody's favorite trope.
Enemies to lovers.
This is double
are
up to
if you-
TSM all over again.
So I think that's all that we have. We won't be back next week. We'll probably be back in the week after that to start discussing how playoffs are shaking out. We'll discuss our playoff bracket predictions, and so we'll get all of that in. Folks, anything that you guys wanted to say before we sign off?
Good luck, Diamond Hearts Club.
Yeah, right. Vega, anything you wanted to say before we sign off?
Just good luck to all my friends. I hope everybody just has fun.
Well, I don't see Val on the screen anymore, which is Val, anything you want to say before we sign off?
No.
No. All right, cool. PC40, that's all I got to say before we go ahead and sign off here. TV frauds. Actually, I think I got another comment in there. I think that's everything I got. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.